Well, let's roll a few stars. I've got my star cores. I'm going to dump them in the wet bucket. I've got some star comp in a little cup with the rest of it sealed up in its tub. I try to minimize exposure as much as possible. Got my atomizer sprayer. And I am just going to wet these stars until they're just glistening wet. Yeah, I can see there's some excess fluid in there now. I'm going to take a couple scoops of, just a half teaspoon. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of composition into the dry bucket and sort of spread it around a little bit. And I will just take my stars and sprinkle them into that bucket and start rolling. I can add a little more comp as needed. I can break up any stars that are sticking together with my thumb. This is the trickiest first part of star rolling. So we're still a little on the damp side, so I'll add just a little more comp. And I keep working those until they have picked up all the comp they're going to pick up, and they won't pick up anymore. There's a few little clumps in there which I'll break up. This step, starting the stars and working them up in size, requires a lot of patience. I would normally be doing this outdoors naturally, but for filming I do it in here. So they have picked up all the comp, and they're still a little on the damp side. I'll put a little more comp on them. And at some point, like right now, they're no longer picking up composition. There's some dry composition in there that's not being picked up. I'll roll them just a little bit more. Break up any clumps that are in there. And all of those cores have picked up a nice layer of the composition. Now I don't want to get those stars too wet, so I'll dry the wet bucket out a little bit. Put the stars into the wet bucket. I'll put a little more composition into the dry bucket. And I will repeat that step. Just slightly misting the stars in the wet bucket, trying to keep the moisture off of the bucket, but just get it on the stars until they have gotten nice and evenly damp. And I am not using much moisture at all. The liquid has not really gone down from its fill line on that bottle at all. Roll them around, dump them into the dry composition, dry this out. do this, break up any clumps. And I will just repeat that process over and over and over, taking my time, working slowly, being patient, as the stars gradually grow in size. The single way I know to get the sizing consistent on the stars, you can see some stars haven't picked up much comp and some stars are built up to about 1/8 of an inch. That size inconsistency will continue to grow if the stars aren't sized regularly. I have these star sizing screens every 1/32 of an inch. This first one is at 3/32. I'll put all my rolled stars in there. Shake it. The stars that fall through don't get any more comp, right? I mean, will get more comp. The stars that don't fall through, the stars that sit on the screen, will not get any more comp right now. I'll put those into a separate tub. Those stars will not get any more composition right now. These stars will. I'll put these into my wet tub. Well, first of all, I'll clean up the wet tub a little bit. Put the stars that are going to get some more composition into the wet tub. Trying to keep composition out of there. And I will spritz those and add a little composition to them. And I'll continue to roll all the stars until they sit on that first screen. Then I'll repeat the whole rolling process till they all sit on the second screen, the 1/8 inch screen, and I'll continue to do that up through the screen sizes. Now once the stars get to a certain size, like about 1/8 inch like this, I can just have them rolling and I can spritz even the bottom of the bucket, the wet bucket, just a little bit with water. The stars will get hard and shiny and black and just a little damp looking. They will pick up all the composition off the bottom of that wet bucket if there's any stuck in there. And once they're all hard and black and shiny looking, I'll put them into the dry bucket with some dry comp in there. They will pick up all the composition that's in the dry bucket, including any composition that's stuck to the bottom of the bucket. And they will just continue to grow like that, using the sizing screens to keep the sizes consistent. And they're getting up to a nice over 1/8 inch right now. There will always be a couple stars in there that don't seem to be picking up composition, but most of them are maintaining a good growth. Don't want any escapees to get out of there. These stars have now grown to where they're all sitting, or practically all sitting, on top of the 5/32 sizing screen. I'm going to roll them up till they'll all sit on top of the 3/16 sizing screen, and then I'll dry them. I don't like to roll much more than a 1/16 inch thick layer before drying them. They'll dry very quickly when only that much is rolled on there. So I will roll these up to 3/16 and then dry them. You see they're growing nicely. The buckets are staying pretty nice and clean. You can see to roll these to this point, I have only used probably less than that's a ½ ounce of the solvent. It does not take much solvent at all to roll stars, and the drier the better. So I'll continue to roll these until they get up to 3/16 of an inch. All of these stars now, except for about 10 or 12 of the little cores which never did start picking up composition, now sit on top of the 3/16 inch screen. That's the point I want to dry these at. So I'm going to wet these one more time, put another dose of comp on them, get them nice and hard, and put them on a drying screen and dry them overnight in the drying box. Total liquid used to this point, probably about an ounce, maybe a little more than an ounce, but not much. Those have turned into really nice, round, black, consistently sized stars.